So Dr. Galante, Rad AI is the leader in non-interpretive operational AI, and we've been doing generative AI before it was cool. And so everyone's seen this demo and they've seen the generative AI components. One of those components will allow radiologists on specific cases to increase their speed by 50%. But to your point, at no increased cognitive burden. So what has been your experience with generative AI tools like that?
It's exactly what you say. And it's almost hard to believe because of the lack of perceived increase in effort. And so again, it just seamlessly fits into your practice style. And again, it's also different for me and someone else. We might be using it in slightly different ways, but what you're alluding to is also a game changer.
Clearly at Rad AI, we know that RANT is one of the most innovative practices in the country. And we were excited about approaching the practice, about using reporting. But when we did approach you, what excited you the most about using reporting?
Well, the opportunity to have a part in shaping the practice of radiology and the future of radiology. And it goes back to something I've said with regard to on the impression, which is what I love about Rad AI is that the radiologist is front and center in a very vertically integrated way from point A to point Z. They are at the forefront at every one of those steps. So I knew that when I was approached that I was going to have the opportunity to shape things in a way that was beneficial, not just for RANT, but for all of radiology.
Yeah, and I think when you are a true innovator, Dr. Galante, that's really what you're doing, is you're keeping both your practice, but then your colleagues across the country in mind. And speaking of your colleagues across the country, I love what you just shared because you obviously wanted to benefit RANT, but you were keeping all of those radiologists, your peers across the country in mind. And so as we have radiologists tuning in today, many of them are faced with expiring contracts with their legacy reporting software. So for those colleagues who've tuned in, who've obviously been impressed by the demo and are excited to hear from you and your experience with it, what would you say to them?
I would say, think critically about this decision because we're at a bit of a watershed moment or transition point in the practice of radiology. And the landscape is going to be vastly different in the near future precisely because of things like generative AI and just technological advances. So think critically about what you want your career arc to be. And I'm a still relatively young guy despite the gray in the beard, but I want a long career. I want, a marathon. I'm not trying to sprint right now. I want tools that are going to position me in a way that we can excel and we can provide the highest quality care while meeting all of the metrics that the hospitals are demanding of us. And there's not a lot of good options out there. So think critically about any way you can gain an edge in this hyper-competitive landscape.
And then Dr. Galante, I have to ask, do you think Rad AI reporting could give practices that edge?
110%.